on the coldest night Willow Creek had seen in 40 years, when even dogs hid from the wind and chimneys froze with ice. 3 knocks echoed against the loneliest door in town. Old Walter Hayes almost let them fade into the storm. For 15 years, no one came to his house unless they needed something. A shovel, a loan, a favor, or gossip about when the bitter old widower would finally die and leave his land empty. Children feared his silence. Adults crossed the road when they saw him coming. Some said grief had frozen his heart harder than winter ever could. The knock came again, small, weak, desperate. Walter opened the door and found a boy no older than 8 collapsed against the frame.
I got lost, I'm so cold.
Barefoot in snow.
Come here.
Thin coat torn at the sleeves. Blue lips. Hands shaking so hard they could barely hold a silver necklace shaped like a tiny moon. The boy looked up with terrified eyes and whispered one sentence. "Please do not send me back." Something long buried moved inside Walter's chest.
Ethan, stay with
He
me.
stepped aside.
So cold,
Get in
Pa.
now. Walter lifted the child in his
inside now.
arms. The
You're
boy
safe.
weighed almost nothing. Snow blew into the room behind them. Walter kicked the door shut. He placed the boy beside the stove. He added more wood to the fire. Flames rose brighter than they had in months. The old house seemed to wake with the warmth.
Ethan, you're freezing.
Walter
Let me get you
fetched
wrapped
dry
up.
socks from
Thanks,
a
Walter.
chest.
It's so cold.
He wrapped the
There.
child's feet
Get
carefully.
your hands near the stove.
The boy
helping.
stared
Thank
at him
you.
in disbelief.
Rest easy now, son.
No one had handled him gently in a long time. Walter poured warm water into a cup. Ethan drank it slowly. The shaking in his hands began to fade. Outside, the wind screamed across the fields. The boy's name was
Easy
Ethan.
now, son. It's safe here.
I
He
keep
barely
seeing their
spoke while
faces.
Walter wrapped him in blankets
safe
beside
with
the
me.
fire.
Just breathe.
He ate soup too
Will
fast.
they come back?
Like someone who had learned food could disappear without warning. Every time the wood cracked in the stove, Ethan flinched. Every time the wind scraped the windows, he looked toward the door in fear. Walter noticed bruises around the child's wrist. "Who did that?" he asked quietly. Ethan lowered his eyes. "They will find me." Walter's jaw tightened. Then he noticed the necklace more closely. Silver, moon-shaped, old. He turned it over in the firelight. 2 initials were engraved on the back. M.H. Walter sat down so suddenly, the chair groaned beneath him. Those same initials were carved inside a ring he had hidden away for 20 years. Mary Hayes, his daughter. The daughter who vanished one stormy night carrying her newborn baby and was never seen again. Walter stared at Ethan while his hands began to tremble. He remembered Mary laughing in summer fields. He remembered braiding flowers into her hair. He remembered teaching her to ride horses. He remembered the night she disappeared, the empty room afterward, the years of silence, the unanswered prayers. Walter asked Ethan where he got the necklace. Ethan clutched it tightly. "My mother gave it to me." Walter turned away so the child would not see tears forming in his eyes. For the first time in years, hope felt more painful than grief. Before Walter could ask another question, hoofbeats thundered outside the house. Then fists slammed hard against the front door. 3 men stood on the porch under lantern light, while snow blew around them like smoke. The tallest wore a fur coat and a cruel smile. "You have something that belongs to me," he said. Walter moved Ethan behind him. The man's eyes narrowed. That child was bought and paid for. The room went dead silent. Walter's face changed. He reached above the fireplace and took down the old shotgun no one believed still worked. "No child belongs to anyone." The man laughed. "You are one old man." Walter cocked the gun, "and you are still outside." The men forced the door anyway. That was their mistake. Walter fired into the ceiling first. Wood exploded over their heads. Horses screamed outside in panic. One man ran before stepping fully inside. Another slipped on ice and crashed backward into the snow. The tall man pulled a knife and charged across the room. Ethan screamed. Walter swung the shotgun like a hammer and shattered the man's wrist. The knife flew into the corner. Years of grief had not made Walter weak. They crashed through chairs, tables, sparks, and broken wood. Ethan crawled beneath the kitchen table. Walter struck the man again. Blood stained the floorboards. The storm roared louder outside. One lantern fell and nearly set the rug ablaze. Walter kicked it aside before the flames spread. Lantern light appeared outside the windows. Neighbors had seen the fight. Men arrived with axes. Women came with iron pans. Farmhands came with ropes. The attackers fled into the dark, all but the tall one. The sheriff arrived to find him tied to Walter's porch post with his own belt. For the first time in years, the whole town stood on Walter's side. Some neighbors entered quietly to repair the broken door. Others swept shattered wood from the floor. Mrs. Dalton placed warm bread on the table. Old Mr. Crane checked Ethan's bruised wrist. Walter stood silent in the middle of the room, breathing hard. The sheriff questioned the prisoner until fear loosened his tongue. He admitted they bought children from camps and sold them for labor. Gasps filled the house. Mothers held their own children tighter. Walter looked toward Ethan, and rage burned in his eyes hotter than fire. The sheriff promised riders would search every road by dawn. Walter only nodded. He never took his eyes off the child. When questioned gently, Ethan finally told the truth. He had been taken from a traveling camp where children were bought, traded, and moved like livestock across counties. His mother hid the necklace on him before disappearing, whispering one final name, Walter. The sheriff searched nearby towns for days. Riders were sent in every direction. Then came the truth no one expected. Walter's missing daughter Mary had lived under another name after escaping those men years earlier. She died only weeks before from illness. But before dying, she told Ethan to find Willow Creek and trust the old man with the sad eyes. Walter opened the letter sewn inside Ethan's coat. Father, I was ashamed to return with nothing. I thought I had more time. Please love him the way you loved me. The hardest man in town broke into tears beside the fire. No one looked away. Ethan slowly stepped closer. Walter fell to his knees. He held the boy as if trying to hold lost years themselves. Outside, snow finally stopped falling. Morning sunlight touched the frozen fields. It was the first bright dawn Willow Creek had seen in weeks. Spring came early that year. Walter repaired the roof. Ethan planted beans too close together. Walter complained every morning. Ethan laughed every afternoon. The lonely house filled with life again. Shoes by the door, mud on the floor, books on the table, hope in every room. Walter built Ethan a small wooden bed. Ethan painted it blue. Walter taught him how to split wood safely. Ethan taught Walter how to smile again. The townspeople who once feared Walter now waved from the road. Children came to hear stories by his porch. Ethan followed Walter everywhere, asking questions faster than answers could be given. They fished in the creek at sunrise. They mended fences at noon. They watched stars at night. Walter carved Ethan a toy horse from cedar wood. Ethan kept it beside his bed every night. One evening under a golden sunset, Ethan asked softly if he was truly his grandfather. Walter looked at the silver moon necklace glowing in the light. He placed a rough hand on the boy's shoulder. I am whatever you need me to be. Years later, when Walter Hayes was gone, Ethan kept the farm, the necklace, and the habit of opening the door whenever winter knocked. He became known as the kindest man in Willow Creek. And in that town, parents still told their children one lesson every generation remembered. Sometimes the family you lose finds its way home when you need it most.